Hello everyone, my name is Over, and with me yesterday some more Let's Play Xenoblade Chronicles X. During the last episode, if you haven't watched the two last episodes, please go and watch them right now. This episode, actually let me just say this right off the bat, this episode is completely post-commentary and post-live commentary, should I say rather. And the thing about this is, I truly want to take like a decent chunk of time just talking about what happened in chapter 11. Not to say that things are gonna get inconsequential here, because there are missions gonna be accomplished. I am gonna do some exploration. I am gonna do some, I'm gonna travel around the world. But I really want to take time to truly explore and get my thought across chapter 11 particularly, because as you know, chapter 11 is probably the most important chapter in the game. Now, not stake-wise, I mean, technically speaking, chapter 12 is far much more powerful in its stakes and ambiguity and mystery and all that kind of action, everything. Chapter 12 is far much more important than chapter 11, but still, I really want to talk about chapter 11 because it is, in my mind, the best chapter in the entire game. It is simply the fucking best in terms of story, in terms of emotion, in terms of what happens. The pacing is also great, and the challenge too. And since I didn't really have that much time to talk about it without spoiling what would happen in the same two episodes, so I felt like it would have been better if I just shut up during the actual episode to avoid any pacing and problematic issues and emotional issues they can possibly have, because I didn't really want to ruin such a good chapter. With that said, I want to talk about the betrayal of Lao. Well, actually, there's three factors I want to specifically talk about today. The first one is the betrayal of Lao and how it affects your gameplay time. Personally, in this game, I try to spend as much time as Lao as possible, because I don't remember if I actually said this beforehand, but after I believe chapter 9, you are completely unable to have Lao in your party at all times. What does that mean? That means that you can no longer have him do any sort of mission with him or do some affinity growing with him. So you're kind of just stuck in a place where you can't do anything. And that's really bothersome, because it actually lessens the point of chapter 11 in some fashion. And there's also another factor. Although you can totally do some affinity grinding with him, the fact that, okay, I get it, you can get 100% segment clear survey in this game without doing any of the hard with him, which all arts of hard count as to a segment recon completion. So clearly that doesn't happen, but it lessens the fact that Lao is not very an important character to your party, and he's more a plot-related character, which is like Vandam or Nagi. Well, even then, Nagi has some like narrative purpose, gameplay purposes. So, you see what I mean here? Lao basically amounts to nothing in the grand scheme of things, gameplay-wise. I mean, narratively-wise, he's extremely important. You know, he's the main focus of what happens and what drives most of the action of the Ganglion, and how he interacts with others, and how he can confront the reality of the situation on Mira. But overall, the fact that you pretty much don't spend any time in your party outside of chapter 4 where you're forced to have him in your party, he's a pretty useless character. I mean, I'd rather be with Elma and Lin, which are forced in much more missions, are much more useful, and are much more prevalent throughout the narrative. I think this is a very not contradicting, but a very controversial statement. But I think the betrayal will have been much more effective if a character like Nagi, Lin, or even Elma would have actually been the traitor. And my reasoning with it is we actually spend a good deal of time with these characters, and we're forced to, and thus they make us a good partner. The thing about this game is you can try your best to always have your best team possible level with you, and the best possible characters to level up with you are both Lyn and Elmo. Why? Because you're supposed to do every story mission with them, and if an important character is no longer available to you, that's when it actually makes a great deal of impact on how you play the actual game afterwards, because you have to just change strategies and confront with the reality that you don't have the character anymore. It's a bit to me like Quiet in Metal Gear Solid 5. Quiet is an incredible party member in Metal Gear Solid 5. She can deal so much, she has so much potential. She can recon bases, she can scout the bases, she can take out enemies from afar, she can silence them, create diversions. She has so many capabilities, it's incredible. But after a while, by the way, spoiler for MGS5, she's no longer available. She deserts because she knows that she's gonna contract a virus from speaking English. I'm sorry, Metal Gear Solid 5 is a weird plot. But still, after like all the way through the game, and like there's like 50 chapters, I believe, or 50 missions in MGS, and like at mission 48, something like this, she's gone. You can no longer play with her. And since it's an open world game, you usually have to, you know, have a load of post-game content, and you can't have her anymore. That's what's insane about Quiet. You can't fucking get her back. That is fucking incredible. I didn't think that was actually gonna happen, and thus it really saddens me as a player, not as the avatar, in the game or the characters in the game, as like a player that's playing your game. It's so much more powerful than just not being forced and being like, okay, whatever, I didn't play with him to begin with. And I think Lau could have definitely benefited for something along these lines. And I know that narrative-wise, if it was Lyn or if it was Elma, I mean, things will have to be changed around. And I get that for some gameplay purposes, especially in a JRPG where you have a 100 completion rate, it can be a little finicky. But like, there's ways to somewhat restore that or keep a portion of it without specifically making her an absolute part of that specific mission or that specific completion rate. And I think it could have been so much more powerful because of that. With that said, let's also touch on my second point. My second point is that it is the emotional peak of the story. Chapter 11 is by far, to me, the most important point in the story of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Like, the game has a lot of does give me a lot of flack for, one, being very stoic throughout, and two, although it has a lot of dramatic stakes, none of them are actually poignant or actually are minor enough and focused enough for them to feel connected and worrisome. The fact of the matter is, Xenoblade Chronicles X has probably the most fucked up story in well, not fucked up, but that's probably one of the most fucked up people in existence in a video game. Well, we have technology to support ourselves, but still, like, everybody's got a problem. It can be someone's getting blown up in the city, it could be a mass genocide within multiple species, it could be suicide, it could be about literally one poisoning the entirety of the city. There's so much shit going on. There's slavery, there's abuse, there's political correctness, there's race treaties, and there are plenty of issues like that are addressed throughout the game, but they don't feel focused enough, or we don't spend enough time with them enough that we feel that they're not poignant to a certain degree. And here's what I'm gonna praise. Although we do not play enough with Lau, there's plenty of heart-to-heart missions with both Elma and Lyn when you have to support the team of Lau, or Lau is interactive in some manner in the cutscenes, not necessarily in the gameplay, but in the cutscenes. And from there we can get a lot of mystery behind the backstory of Lau, subtleties in how he sees the world or how he feels about the past. We can hear many times about his wife. We also heard many times about, we also saw him emote quite a few times how he interacts with this shit. Although it was in-game engine cutscene, and these cutscenes are downright terrible. I will say that right off the bat. The cutscenes, in-game cutscenes in this game are fucking disgustingly bad. They're so stoic. I hate them. But like CG cutscenes, oh man, CG cutscenes in these games are great. Just that in-game's engine cutscenes are fucking terrible. Anyway, besides that point, we see him how he emotes throughout that backstory talk and how he talks about his family, or when we brought up their family, because he's never brought it up. And the fact that he's confronted with that reality, and that reality is put in the front stage. In chapter 11, it's so much more poignant here. The fight to me is ridiculously easy. The boss fight is ridiculously easy considering the gauntlet you have to push through that chapter. But afterwards, it just becomes an emotional ride. And it's so focused, it completely, well, it's not a chapter 11 completely nullifies the grand picture that, you know, we're all gonna die if we don't retrieve our real bodies. There's clear point to chapter 11, but it clearly wants to focus on Lao. It's a chapter that's inclusively focused on Lao and the relationship with the close one he still has and the one he has left. And I think it does a phenomenal job at focusing in. I do, however, have an argument against the dialogue, but you know, it's a video game. Video game dialogue are kind of fucking bullshit to begin with, to be entirely honest. But I do feel like the dialogue is poignant, and although it's very on the nose and it's very obvious, I do like the way it's presented in most occasions. It's emotional, and the voice actor for Lao is incredible in that fucking cutscene. He is absolutely phenomenal in its performance. He truly buys the angered and inner sadness of Lao while keeping his chill, calm attitude, and you can just hear him break in how he performs the sentence. And it's probably like top 1 favorite voice acting moment in the entire game, or maybe like in a JRPG. It's got to be my top 10 easily, because it feels so poignant. It's like twisting a nail in the coffin of someone. Well, it's really twisting a knife in the wound, you know what I mean? It's not just stabbing you with it, it's also twisting it. And that's what I like, is it's so empathetic in the way that, in the delivery, in both the dialogue and how you perceive the character, and it makes you feel really, 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 really fucking bad about what you need to do for the greater good. And it's almost a case where you wish you could do something and have the choice to save the individual over the world. At least in my case, that's how I felt about it. I really wanted to save Lao outside of just saving the world, because if we could save Lao, there'd be cases we can actually help other people like him, and thus advancing forward as a species, and then probably going after bodies. But clearly going after the bodies is a much more important issue. But it really focuses on, like, again, it focuses so much on the personal vendetta that he has, and just the inner anger that he feels, and it just is incredibly real and incredibly more poignant again. And yeah, it just resonates with me on so many levels, and I think this is why I want to talk about it so much. The CG cutscenes here too, oh my god. Chapter 11 really goes full out with CG cutscenes, and I think they're wonderful. I think the best animated instant, for the exception being that fucking flimsy feminine walk that your avatar has while he's going to get by the side of Lin to protect Lao. That fucking walk is like a mannequin walk on a red carpet or something along these lines. It's absolutely atrocious. I do not know what animator like did this. I don't know if it's my armor that makes it look that way. It's such a weird walk, and I don't get it. Why is the walk so fucking flimsy like this? This is so weird. But like, they really went on the CG cutscenes, and I think they're wonderful. I think the cinematography on here too is much more prevalent. Like, not to say the cinematography and most of the cuts in most of the CG cutscenes are terrible. In fact, I think the CG cutscenes are a high point when it comes to filmmaking. Like the Sufarg and how the filming in Chapter 10 is absolutely gorgeous, you know? How it makes it look so fucking immense. And you can't even see the full thing in one shot. That's how big the fucking thing is and make you seem. And when you're actually in gameplay and finding a scale and realize that this shit is like 100 times larger than you, it really feels fucking big. And the fact they replicate it in the cinematography, that's how it should be done. And they still get a good shot out of it. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's good, you know? But Chapter 11, I'm sorry if I'm keeping and repeating the same things, but if I didn't repeat them, it wouldn't be as good as I said it is, but it really is. Chapter 11 cinematography is outstanding. The way they like pulls the close-up and the medium shots and the wide shots in order for us to comprehend certain emotion, it's great. I love how it triggers certain emotion depending of how close the camera is and how it's positioned. You can really feel when Elma goes and raises her gun to shoot a Lao. She's shot in, I believe, in the medium or wide shot. But then the moment that Lao confronts her about if she will shoot the terminal line, it just pulls that close up to focus on the inner struggle that she doesn't want to fuck up for the greater good. But then you have Lao in this shaky motion being such you can see the camera, which is much more shaky when it comes to the Lao viewpoint, because in such an distress state, and it really feels that way. And I know that most of this is technical bullshit jargon that most people do not care about, but this is something that I personally care about, and this is the things I personally see when I watch a cutscene in this game. When something feels poignant and focused, you can just feel that shit through a camera movement. You can just go back and be like, okay, they actually backed themselves up here, they pull close up here, they had a double shot, they pull out the wide for the greater circumstance of information here. They abruptly they're probably cut there to raise tension, they slow it down to give it catharsis. And it feels a lot more natural than most other CG cutscenes in this game, or pretty much any other cutscenes here. It flows very naturally, and the pace of the scenes, I think, is pretty well done. It's done relatively fast. Like, there are a lot of moments where you can just elongate the shot if you want to. Like, there's plenty of shot where I'm like, no, just keep it for like a couple of frames later, maybe a second later, and I think you'd be solid, you know, you'd be in a great shot. And you really leave the emotion longer. But even though the pace is brisk of the cutscene, not brisk, but faster than most cutscenes, I think it still has a great pace on how it presents itself. It knows that we want to get this over with. It knows that we're already an hour into this mission, and it cuts to the important thing very fast. Well, not very fast, but relatively fast, and it gives us the good stuff. With that said, let's talk now about the music choices in this chapter, especially throughout the end. Now, if you're ever interested in hearing the piecework that everybody remembers, it's the piece is called Requiem, and that's a piece that plays when Lao is getting his redemption, so to say. This piece is called Requiem. I think halfway through you have the piano solo where you can just hear him talk about how Papa is not going to his two ladies, and it's absolutely a devastating moment. And I think the music, although it's very on point, so to say, it feels so incredibly hard on you. It just drops like a bombshell and being like so sad about it. Like, he still wants the option that he had at beforehand, and through his characters, you can still hear him like, I still want to die. I want to die. And he fucking can't. He can't die because he's refused to by the city because he has to uphold for his action. And he's in a meme, he's not in his robotic body, so we can revive no matter what. And it's just, holy shit. You know? It's just holy fucking shit. He wants to die and wants to bring down everybody with him. And after a while, he's just like, fuck it. Here you go, save humanity. But please let me fucking die. Tell people to die. To let me die. And then people are like, no, please live. Please live. Some is for, you know, to atone for his action. And you got someone like Lynn's like, just be with us and they'll be fine. But it's psychology and how it's represented through that music. I think it's wonderful. And like I said, even though I think the music is a little bit cheesy for the point of the situation, I think could be a little more subtle. I think it's, even though I think it's that, I think it's perfect for what the scene is trying to represent, and it's by far, you know, the first couple of times through the first 3 playthroughs, I cried all 3 fucking times because I think it's such a well done scene, and it truly deserves to be. And oh my god, the music. There's also another couple of different tracks that can be used and seen in this game. Like I said, the most prevalent is Requiem. You can find that pretty easily on YouTube. Another one that I think they use is Xeno X3. Of course, you will hear some of that at the end, as per usual. Maybe I'll put the correct one. I don't know. You know, we'll see. We'll just have to see. Even then, I just want to say, fucking A, man. Fucking A. The choice of music, it's poignant, it's powerful, it's great, it has a great timing to it. Tatsu isn't even annoying in this fucking scene. He's just genuine, and that's what I like about it. They make normal characters, they make the most annoying character actually not annoying in this scene. I don't know how they did it. Actually, Chapter 11 is great for Tatsu. He gets cooked in a bath, boiling water, and then he's not annoying for the rest of the mission. That's how great it is. Like Tatsu, every fucking buddy hates Tatsu. I fucking despise Tatsu. He's a terrible, appalling character. He's absolutely the worst that this game has to offer in terms of character interaction, dialogue, and just ease in-game cutscene and just out-game cutscene. Whatever. Tatsu is fucking shit. There, I said it. But they made a couple of phrases with Tatsu being friendly afterwards in the aftermath of the resolution. But in the aftermath of the fight, just comes over and is like, don't die now. Here's the lunch, cause I know that Lynn wants you alive. It's a very small thing, but it's an interaction that you don't think you normally see in this game. Think about it. Tatsu and Lao barely have any real relationship. Like, they're just like there to explain a few things. Tatsu do a few punchline, Lao for some exposition during a mission briefing, and that's it. But they actually like give a little bit of relationship there. Well, they're both connected to Lynn, but Tatsu's there for the greater good of Lynn and understand what needs to be done for her to persevere in that faction, while Lao is like, I understand what you're doing this for Lynn, and I also want to do this for Lynn. So it gives a little bit of connection there between two characters that usually would just be there for exposition or dialogue dumping, and they're not. They truly have like a relation through each other through another character, and it feels a lot more real. You know, it's a romance triangle, the best thing in it ever. I'm not saying this is a bromance, but I'm saying this is interesting because it gives another aspect of two characters that we didn't know had connection outside of maybe dialogue boxes that I missed, or entries, or anything along these lines. And maybe they actually had a relation in a previous mission briefing or something along these lines. It just feels Again, this chapter is so much more focused that it feels more real and connected here, and I think that's worth mentioning. God, I've been rambling for quite a while. It's almost been 25 minutes. Holy shit. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, Chapter 11 is amazing. If you haven't seen any episode of this fucking playthrough yet, jump on to Chapter 11, to episode 91, watch the last 15 to 20 minutes of that episode, which is pretty much the entirety of the episode. Almost, not entirely. And you'll be set. That's really about it. As long as you do your best and you watch it, I think you're gonna have a great time, because it truly is a phenomenal episode on every single level. Once again, I do apologize that this specific episode didn't have that much of importance in terms of mission status, but that's exactly why I didn't want to have any story purposes or heavy character implication purposes in terms of story here, to avoid of detracting and constantly referring to a previous episode in terms of story. So once again, I apologize for rambling for so long, for this episode to be somewhat insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Although oh my god, that skill is, it sparked great, alright. But truly, apologies for that. Please understand that getting my thoughts across my favorite chapter it was very, very needed in my case, where I just wanted to share this as much as possible, because it is absolutely needed in my case. I truly wanted to touch on something that I think is the most well done aspect of this game. Outside of skill and exploration gameplay, I think that the last 3 cutscenes of Chapter 11 are the most brilliant part, narrative-wise, of this game. There's only one more chapter after this, and of course we're gonna play Chapter 12 in, I don't know, 10 episodes perhaps, maybe less, I don't know. We'll just have to see until then. Although if you wanted to know what Chronicles is all about, hey, this episode got you covered, right? It was almost nothing but exploration of the specific region. With that said, let me end it here, because it's been far too fucking long. Thank you for watching. My name is Overring3, and I'll see you all for a much more prevalent episode next time.